What's up guys, it's Endemia, and today I've got a really hot take from some developers that not only tries to dismiss Elden Ring's success, but tries to blame it on something truly insane. Also, if I sound a little weird, it's cause I'm getting over a flu, but anyway, this one's going to be a doozy, guys. But before I begin, if you like the content, consider subscribing, liking the video, and turning on notifications. It helps out the channel, and now let's dive into one of the most horrendous takes I've seen all year. As many of you know, I've already done 2 videos prior on Western developers losing their minds when it comes to Elden Ring's continued meteoric success. To summarize, there's a group of these Western devs that just hate seeing a game like this do so ridiculously well. Also, I should say, don't contact or bully anyone I present in this video. This is simply a reaction. I don't need hitmen showing up to my house ready to make me disappear, thank you. This all came to my attention thanks to Gene Park, who tweeted this recently, and as soon as I read it, my blood began to boil. The first Western dev says, and I quote, "Not being able to equip armor from the inventory and having to go to a separate equipment tab is its own level of hell. All From Software games, and in my opinion almost all games of Japanese origin, have a UI problem. Could it be a difference in usability mental model across regions?" There's so much to unpack here, I'm just going to try my best to ensure I don't go insane. So this dev thinks that the simple act of equipping armor in a From Software game is awful, that the user interface is terrible and should be fixed. Here's my demonstration on how you equipped armor in Elden Ring. So first you hit the options button on PS5, which immediately puts your cursor on equipment. One click and we're there. This is hell according to this Western dev, guys. Now you click X and all our equipment is shown. That's it. We did it, guys. It was hell, but we made it to the equipment menu. Literally 2 button clicks and this guy says it's hell. But it gets even worse. He then goes on to say that all From Software games, as well as all Japanese games, have a UI problem. I don't know about you guys, but Japanese games have never been that hard to navigate or understand. Super Mario, for example, is like as simple as it gets. Hell, Elden Ring or any of From Software's previous titles aren't exactly difficult to navigate either. Their UI is always clean, to the point, and doesn't clutter the screen with information, which Western-made games have a weird obsession with. If anything, it's Western games that have UI problems, like look at the upcoming pirate game Skull and Bones here. The entire screen is a UI nightmare. It's like the only way these devs want their games to look is to have everything on screen imaginable. They don't want to think, they don't want to be challenged, so this UI is fine, but this UI isn't. Let that sink in. They probably want an optimize equipment button in Soulsborne games too, so they can think even less, which defeats the purpose of what these games are all about, especially when you factor in equipment loads and movement as their key mechanics to understand in order to succeed. And now we arrive at the most horrendous part of this take. It's the final part that really led me to making this video in the first place. It's where he says that the difference in usability could be a mental model across regions. So, okay, he says that all Japanese games have awful user interfaces. Then he says it must be connected to cultural differences. So what he's basically saying is that Asian people in general like these kind of user interfaces because according to this dev, it's cause Asian people can't comprehend too much information on screen at once. Is this really your take? Asian people like bad UIs cause it's all they can understand and they can't comprehend too much information? Asian people, who are some of the most talented when it comes to gaming. So he's basically saying the user interface is bad because it's made by Asian people for Asian people. And I went through the original tweet and he's being absolutely dragged through the mud by everyone, and on behalf of everybody, I applaud these people, thank you. Imagine thinking the UI in a game sucks and then blaming it on an entire nationality of people. Like, are you saying Japanese people enjoy these UI interfaces cause they're less than you? That Asian people in general are somehow lower than others and that's why they enjoy this kind of user interface? I can't believe we're here, guys, but we're really at the point where Elden Ring and all From Software's achievements are now being dismissed because it's made by Asian people. Like, this is incredible. This is some next level coping, and I can't believe it's come to this. So let's do a test, everybody. I want you to look at these two different styles of interface. Here's the interface made by, as this Western dev says, lowly Asian people, and what do you think? If you like this UI, well, you must also be primitive and can't fathom too much information at once. Now look at this Western-like UI for Elden Ring. What do you think of this one? If you enjoy this instead, well, clearly you must be incredible. You are the pinnacle of human evolution, and anyone who disagrees with you are clearly beneath you. Originally, we had devs hating on From Software games because they don't tell you exactly where to go and that they're challenging. And now this meteoric rise in popularity and sales has led to Western devs pulling out the old faithful racism card. And it gets worse because of course it does. Because another dev who works with this dev had this to say, quote, "I keep saying this, but most people are like, I don't see it. This is the mother of all reason why I can't get myself to try most Japanese games. You can instantly recognize the style and it puts me off massively." What style do you mean exactly? That it was made by people who are Asian and that puts you off? There's a word for that, you know. Oh right, racist. That's it. That's pretty racist. So Elden Ring and From Software, as well as all Japanese made games, have bad UI because they're made by Asian people. We're officially at the point where Western devs are trying to disapprove all achievements of any Asian-made games simply because they are not made by superior Western developers. A game that is made by, in their words, lesser people that is also so successful it is now in the top 10 most profitable games of all time, according to an NPD analyst. I can't believe we're really at the point where we're dunking on Asian people and saying their success isn't warranted because of their race. There's so much dope stuff that comes from Asian-made media, it's borderline ridiculous. And to dismiss it simply because they're not Western is simply racist. There's no other way to put it. All the dope animes out there, amazing genre-defining games from Super Mario, Zelda, Dark Souls, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, I mean the list goes on. Not to mention entire companies like, oh I don't know, Nintendo or PlayStation being made by Asian people, being some of the best places to play games for decades at this point. But I guess none of that matters, guys, because unfortunately these experiences were made by Asians. If only a white person had made Elden Ring, am I right? There is this weird racial angle to what all these Western devs have been saying since Elden Ring released. Like they almost perceive anything made in any Asian country to be lower quality or not worthy of recognition. But it's funny because if anything, it's Western made media that is by far more boring and homogenized than anything made in Asian markets these days. I mean, Demon Slayer, a Japanese manga, is so popular it outsold the entire Western comic book industry. Like, I want you to understand how crazy that is. One single book series from Japan sold more than everything made in the West combined. Spider-Man, Batman, the Avengers, whatever. All of them combined couldn't even hope to beat one of Japan's mangas in sales. I think the reason why not just Western devs, but Western media in general wants to so quickly dismiss any Asian media is because Asian media is flourishing and not alienating its audience like so many Western-made things are these days. Every week we hear about some reboot or remake that somehow doesn't honor the source material or changes it because the people in charge think they know better. Look at Halo's TV series, for example, and how the creators thought the source material wasn't enough for a show, so they changed it and a lot of people were mad. Or look what happens when Westerners get their hands on Asian-made media, they create bizarro, inferior products instead. It's like Western media creators are angry that Eastern creators are so successful. But I think it comes down to the fact that Eastern media is largely foregoing what Western media is trying to push. From Software games have no microtransactions, and due to this they would fall under the umbrella of being effing idiots according to executives like the former CEO of EA. And yet, even without microtransactions or any BS, Elden Ring has sold more and done better than almost all of these other games pretty much. And Western creators hate this because it goes against a standard they're trying to push onto the gaming industry. They want us all to embrace paying to play games all the time. They want us to buy into season passes, multimedia skins, and sponsorships, and draining our wallets just to enjoy our hobby. And Japanese devs like From Software just want to make a fun game that people will enjoy. And that unfortunately goes against their ideology. And they'll do anything and everything they can to crush them so standards like From Software's don't spread like wildfire. But I think Elden Ring's success has already begun to spread, and I hope it brings positive change. I mean, look at how many remakes there are of Asian-made movies. Westerners are so conceited they will literally remake an entire movie instead of just releasing the original. And the remake is usually always worse. I'm looking at you, old boy. And really, whenever the Asian market starts to gain any sort of traction or positivity, it's always Western-born people who try to immediately dismiss it and act like they know better. But thankfully, in recent years, Asian-made games, books, and movies have been just absolutely crushing it. And it just shows that at this point, if you're going to dismiss all the success Asian creators have had and boil it down to because they can't handle too much information because they're Asian is just racist. There's no elegant way to put it. But anyway, if you don't mind, I'd love to read some of these comments quickly so we could all laugh together at how horrendously wrong this dev is. This one's pretty good. Those darn Orientals and their inferior mental capabilities. Loving the sarcasm here. Can't believe we're at this point, guys. And this one's pretty good too. No, you're just bad at video games and also racist apparently. This next one is golden because the same Western dev still can't comprehend it, the dev says. Then explain why interacting with an armor piece from the inventory has a use option which however is inexplicably grayed out. Then a user says, it's grayed out because you don't use it like a consumable, you equip it from the equipment tab. Equipping equipment from the equipment menu. That's insane. That's too much to understand. I need the game to do it all for me automatically because this is too taxing on my mental health. And I just want to finish on these last two because they're just so good. It's definitely a usability mental model issue. It's too advanced for you apparently. That one's good. And this next comment just perfectly encapsulates it all. We've arrived at the bad UI is a racial problem Elden Ring discourse. The amount of cope is insane at this point, but I hope this video helps you understand how even though some people won't say it outright, there's always going to be some sort of deep-rooted racism in the gaming community. And all it takes is for Asian developers to succeed to see that racism pops up every now and then. Listen, I'll keep defending Asian-made games because they're dope as hell, but I hope you enjoyed the video and I think we all learned something today. I learned that I am a lower life form on this earth because I prefer Japanese UI to Western UI. I also learned that Elden Ring's success is apparently due to a fluke, and if you like Japanese games, surprise, you're an idiot who can't process information. It's okay, if only we were like these Western devs. Well, I'm glad this was so insightful. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, do not harass anyone. Let's just acknowledge what's happened and move on and do better, and just don't be racist. It's really that simple. Subscribe for more content, share the video, like it, and all that stuff. And let me know what you think in the comments below, because I'm sure you all have much to say about this. Thanks to my patrons, as always, for their support, and I'm Endymion. Back to Dark Souls 3 I go. I'll see you in the next one.